What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to share my journey to my first $100,000. I'm going to share how long it took me, what I learned along the way, and the reason for this I want to show inspiration for anybody that's on the same type of path for any type of financial milestone, whether that be $50,000, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, whatever it may be. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jay. I love talking about personal finance, the stock market, trying to retire early, as well as getting out of debt. Back then I was probably a typical American, and that meaning living paycheck to paycheck, not knowing anything about saving or investing, kind of caught up in consumerism. And also I've never made $100,000 a year in my life. Alright, so all that being said, let's go ahead and start with the story. So we started about 8 years ago. I was about 29, 30, give or take. Anyway, I remember I was just trying to find a purpose for my life, and I remember like a financial freedom type blog came up or something, and FIRE movement, and I thought that it was very interesting. I never really thought about having to work like the next 35, 40 years of my life. And I really got excited about having like financial freedom. And I also was kind of interested, like maybe I could start some type of business or something I was really truly passionate about. So with that I found my why. My main why was trying to find financial freedom, make my own schedule, which really was the biggest part, like freedom of making your own schedule, and potentially be able to work for myself and decide kind of what I wanted to do at the time instead of being stuck at, chasing the corporate ladder, making more money and trying to just keep getting raise after raise. And that's not quite exactly what I wanted to do. There's nothing wrong with that. I just really was passionate about finding this freedom. So at this time I had about $39,000 in a 403B. A 403B is basically a 401k but for a nonprofit hospital. Luckily one of my coworkers back then, another nurse, she said that I should try to put like 15% into that. So I thought that was a lot of money back then, but I'm so happy I started doing that. So like I said, I had about $39,000 when I started my journey. So my story really gets more interesting in the fall of 2015. It was like October, November, sometime around there. I went up to Duluth, Minnesota as a travel nurse. And at this time I'd no longer have any 401k or 403b options. So I knew that I had to take investing into my own hands. And this is really when it started taking off for me, like the ideas. And we'll get into the process in a second. But this is really when I decided to change my life. So I started working out a lot. So I actually did Insanity, which is insane, actually. It's a good word for it. Anyway, I also had started reading as much as I could, getting as much information as I could about investing, saving, like Dave Ramsey stuff, which was like back then important to me. Anyway, getting out of debt, all that stuff. I just was consuming as much information as I could. I remember at the time, TD Ameritrade, which is the brokerage I use, I'm not saying you should use them or anything like that, but they have a whole financial education thing on their platform. So I was just watching every single video possible, like what is a stock, what is a bond, how to invest, investment strategies, and I was just consuming as much information as I could. So that's kind of the background of this whole story setup, and now I'm going to tell you guys about what I actually learned through the whole process and what made me successful. So there's two main points I want to go here. So one is like your mindset and your lifestyle. So I'm going to kind of combine that into one. And then the second one is the actual process of what I did. But let's start with mindset and lifestyle. So at this time I did start getting a little more frugal, and by that I mean like I just went out to eat less and just started cooking at home or making even like sandwiches at home or whatever, and just saving a little bit more money, because at the end I was like, why did I just spend $50 out to eat and have like 3 beers or whatever? And also I was doing Insanity, so I started eating a little more healthy as well. So I remember I would do like these week-long challenge of like what's the least amount of money I could spend but still eat healthy. So anyway, that was one thing I did. I also at the time really started getting out of consumerism, like, needing new clothes, new shirts, stuff like that. So I just buy like simple things that I need that's going to last a long time and they're meaningful to me. So that getting out of consumerism, that's a whole nother video we can do. But those frugality and consumerism kind of combined into me being able to save more money, because the whole goal is you need to have more money than you spend, right? Like you need to save more money than you spend, I should say. So anyway, that's an important part of investing we'll get to. So one really important thing for this mindset thing, in my personal opinion, is writing down your goals. So ever since then, I've pretty much been putting 20 to 25% of my income into investments, and writing down goals, especially when you're like a little tighter on income. I said, I'm going to put $20,000 in the stock market this year. And like I said, I've never made over $100,000. So that year was like 30% of my income. So anyway, $20,000 a year. If you break that into weeks, it's about $385 a week. So every Monday I put the $385 in there. That's how I would make my goals. and then I would actually track these things as I'm going. And at the time, I really remember knowing that the beginning of my finance journey or investing journey, that was the most crucial part, to put as much money as I could at the beginning. I call that front loading. So if I was able to put $400 a week back then, which is what I actually ended up doing, $400 a week back then, that would go much further at a 30-year-old than as a 40 or 50-year-old doing it. So ever since then, I've pretty much always been trying to put in at least $20,000 a year into the stock market. And like I said, that ends up being 20 to 30%. This year, I've actually put in 50% of my income because there's been such a bear market. There's so many good values out there. And I'm not a financial advisor. However, I can tell you guys what I do. Most of my money is in indexed ETFs like S&P 500 index, like a VOO or SPLG. I also do put a lot of my money into high dividend growth ETFs, which I talked about in this video here. So like VYM or SCHD, those are ticker symbols for that. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. Those are things you could look into for yourself. They worked for me. So this leads me to my next point, which is the process. I did hit on some of this a little bit, but I thought it was worth mentioning in the other part. But the process really is the most important part. Keeping the discipline to be able to put in the $385 a week or $400 a week, or if you guys are doing $100 a week, whatever it is, keeping the discipline to do that is the most important part of the entire process. So every Monday, I personally, that's when I put my set amount of money in, and I'll buy my ETFs, whether it be the high dividend or or if I buy stocks, or if I buy the S&P 500 index funds, whatever it is on Monday, the money's already going in, the plan is already set. For me personally, the automatic investing is the most important thing. Another important thing for me personally was how I would track my investments. So every 3 to 6 months, I actually write down every single investment I have, and I keep how much money I have in there. And I know exactly what my net worth is, especially from investment standpoint. So I know exactly when I've hit each milestone based on, I've literally written down all these records and I have them still. The other really good thing about tracking your money is it gets you excited about it, or I don't want to dare say addicted to investing, because you have $10,000, now you have $13,000, $16,000, and you just see it growing. It's so fun, especially when you first start, and the longer you're in, the more compound interest you get. So it just gets more exciting. Your money's just growing. Even if I stopped investing today, I'll hit $1 million in the next probably like 10, 15 years, because I have so much money in there already. So it's just exciting to get compound interest behind you. If you guys are liking today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel, join the journey of retiring early and just in general investments, and let's start a little community here. Please smash the like button, comment down below if you guys have learned anything or where you're at in your journey. Another point I want to hit on for the process is specifically budget versus paying myself first. I have done a couple things to try budgeting or whatever. It's never worked for me. What happens to a lot of people, like the pitfall is, let's say you're going to budget and then you say, well, at the end of the month, whatever money I have left over, I'll go ahead and invest. I think that's totally wrong and backwards, as far as you need to pay yourself first. So if you put the money in, like I said, like what I do every Monday, if I budget, it doesn't really matter because I've already paid myself first. So it becomes less important. I'm not saying that I don't track some spending and stuff like that, but more importantly is paying yourself first, in my own experience. So one thing that I did do instead of a budget, I call it the 30-day challenge. I don't know if it's actually called anything. I just made this term up. Anyway, the idea is you look at the last 30 days of your spending, like on your bank statement, and you write them down into categories. So like, for instance, going out to eat, gas, groceries, you write all these things out, and eventually you find out how much money you spent on these things. I remember one month I spent like $450 on going out to eat, and just knowing that in the future, like the next month, I was like, well, I'm not gonna spend $450, and I didn't like actually budget, but I just knew in my head. So anyway, I only spent like $250 the next month, or like $220 the next month, and just ended up saving money that way without just knowing what the waste was and just changing it that way. For me personally, that's way easier. I'm not hating on like the envelope system where you put cash in an envelope and say this is going out to eat or this is this. If I pay myself first and just kind of have a good idea of what I'm spending on, I'm very aware of these things. So those things helped me out personally. So through a little bit of frugality, saving a little more money than I used to, and putting money in the stock market on a regular basis, I was able to hit from $39,000 to $100,000 in about 2.5 years. So January of 2016 is when I technically wrote down I had $39,000, and then July of 2018 is when I hit $100,000. So about 2.5 years of doing this entire process, I got to $100,000. And if you're wondering, I have also hit $200,000, and that was in March of 21. I have technically also hit $300,000. Those aren't parts of this video. It's the same process I did for all of them. I'm just hitting more milestones. A lot of people think the first $100,000 is the hardest, and I totally agree with that. After that, you're already into a process, and things are just working for you because you know how to do it at this point. I no longer live in Omaha, Nebraska, which is where this whole journey started. So you might ask, where is Jay now? And that's a great question. Thank you for asking. I now live in the Panhandle of Florida. I was able to save enough money about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I had enough money in my accounts that I felt good enough to leave my job. So I was working as an ER nurse, so I was able to leave that job, and I now work for myself. I'm actually a beach portrait photographer. That's something I love doing. I hang out with people at sunset and take photos of them, and it's just so much fun. It's such a big contrast from ER nursing. But most importantly, I make my own schedule, and I love what I'm doing, and I'm able, if I didn't want to do this anymore, I could do something else. So having the financial freedom from that has been enough for me. I'm not quite early retired, but I'm on the right path there. But being able to get out of a regular job and have your own freedom for me that's been a game changer for my life. All right, guys, I hope this has been an inspiration for anybody. If it helps just one person, I'm happy with that. I'd like to hear about your guys' journey. And like I said, hopefully this was helpful for anyone trying to reach any of these milestones, whether it be even $10,000, $50,000, $500,000, wherever you're at. Leave a comment down below. Let me know where you're at. It's important to remember that it's not a race where all of us are together. I'm not trying to beat somebody. I don't care if you're ahead of me or behind me. That doesn't matter. We're all on the same journey together for financial freedom or retiring early. Just sharing tips and tricks and just ways we can get there together. So hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Let's look at a beautiful sunset photo real quick. So this is part of freedom I'm talking about. At this time of night, I used to have to always be driving into work because I work nights at the hospital. Now I can go to sunset, I can jump in the water, watch these beautiful sunsets down here, and like I said, make my own schedule and freedom. So anyway, hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Please subscribe to the channel. Let's build a community going. Smash the like button. Leave a comment down below where we're at. If you found anything interesting in this video, I'd like to hear about it. Thanks, guys.